Hi, I'm Dan Herbert and I'm a course developer and tutor at Point Blank Online. I've been working for over 20 years as a musician, sound designer and programmer. I released tracks in the mid-90s on Ouch, Tasty and Storm, and have also worked in TV and film. In this series of tutorials, we're going to be checking out the Max for Live plugins which we've been developing here at Point Blank. These are available for you guys to download for free. Make sure you subscribe to the Point Blank YouTube channel and also check out our free sample courses at pointblankonline.net. The next device in this Point Blank Max for Live series is a modular synth. We explore the potential of modular synthesis using Reactor in the Native Instruments sound design course, as well as the undergraduate courses here at Point Blank. This new Max for Live device is based on the EMS VCS3 synth, which had an innovative matrix system that allowed flexible and efficient routing with a modular approach. So I've done a quick search here in Google Images for VCS3, and we can see a variety of pictures and different models of this awesome synth. So let's come down here and click on this picture here. So the original VCS3 synth had 3 oscillators, and you got a fantastic frequency control button, a shape control, and then 2 level controls for the different waveforms. So here's your 3 oscillators. Had a noise generator section, also had the ability to feed audio into it and process that using the filters or the ring modulator as well, which is included. So if you're into your kind of Dalek sounds, that is a good starting point. Also it had a filter section as well as an envelope section. Now what's really great about this synth was this matrix down here and also the joystick as well. So if I try and find a picture of the matrix in close-up, here's one. So we can see here you've got these little pins which actually put into the matrix, and it allows really flexible routing without having lots of cables going everywhere. Now it looks kind of quite complex when you first look at it, but it's really quite logical. Okay, so the principle is you've got a number of different sources, and then you've got a number of signal inputs or outputs as well as control inputs as well. So if we wanted to hear, for example, oscillator 1, here's oscillator 1, then I'd come here and I'd put a pin in the output column. Okay, it's got 2 outputs, so if you wanted to come out of both outputs, then you'd put another pin here. So that's the kind of idea behind it. If you wanted to do any form of modulation, then you could choose oscillator 3 as your modulator source, and let's say you wanted to control oscillator 1, you'd come along this line and then find where oscillator 1 is, and then you'd put a pin there. So that's a kind of key part of this VCS3 synth. So let's hide the browser, and I've got here the downloaded file. Just going to double click on and open up. Now I've covered how to install Max for Live plugins in the Kick Drum Designer video, so please check that out if you want more info. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is grab hold of the plugin and then just drop it onto this MIDI track here, and it opens up the Max for Live instrument. So to get sound out of the synth, we'll have to make use of the matrix. So I've got here oscillator 1 and I've got the output here. So to hear that, I'm going to click there. Let's just turn that down, and we get a buzzy tone, a sawtooth, at 100 Hertz. If I want to change the frequency, I can slide through. Now the original synth had a really nice frequency control, which is really smooth and just rotated round and round. Unfortunately, with digital software, that isn't always as easy as it sounds. So what I've done is I've also included a slide control. It's a bit like portamento. So let's turn this on, and that basically means we can set a certain time on it to slide between whatever frequency you dial in. And you can obviously set the time to different values. That's 5 seconds. Or we can get it to go faster. But you can hear now it's lost that kind of stepping effect, which is typical of digital systems. So let's just go through the structure of this synth. So it's a 3 oscillator synth like the original. So we've got oscillator 1 here. You've got a frequency control. You can adjust the shape of the waveform. Level control and slide as we've just seen. Oscillator 1 is a sawtooth wave. oscillator 2 is a square wave, and oscillator 3 is a triangle wave. We've also got a fine tune control on oscillator 3, and this can be really useful as an LFO control. Over here we've got the matrix, which is a kind of crucial part of it. I've also included a preset system, so you can store any settings using this preset system here. We've got a noise generator, and we can adjust the color of the noise by this parameter here. You've also got a low pass filter with adjustable resonance, and you can also adjust the slide rate of the cutoff, similar to the oscillators. The other great feature of the original VCS3 was the joystick, and we've got here an XY controller which we can assign to any parameter. So if I want to assign the XY controller to oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, what I'm going to do is come to X. I'm going to assign this to control the frequency of oscillator 1. So here is X. Come along here, and then where it lines up with oscillator 1, I'm going to click there to create a little pin. Let's test this out. So, and then move along the X-axis. If you want it to slide around like we saw earlier, we can also do the same to oscillator 2. So to hear oscillator 2, we can click there. And then to assign Y to it, so moving up and down, Y in line with where it says oscillator 2. And again, you hear that stepping up. Let's just add a little bit of slide to it. Hear both of them together. So it's kind of great fun to play around with. Let's just turn that off. So it's as easy as that to use this matrix system. It looks complicated, but actually it's pretty easy to get your head around. So we've also included a ring modulator. Here are the two inputs, A and B is the ring modulator, and here is the output. So let's ring modulate oscillator 1 with oscillator 2. And to hear that, we need to put a little pin next to ring in the output column. And before I turn it on, I can see it really driving the level here. So let's just pull the level back a touch. And turn it on there. And then waggle the XY. We get these kind of radio tuning effects. Quite cool, kind of metallic textures. And we can also develop the sound of the waveforms further by adjusting the shape. So let's turn these on. Get a bit more of a kind of intensive sound. You get the idea. Cool, so what we can also do as well, we've got ring modulation, we've also got filter. So let's route oscillator 2 through the filter. So come along here, click on LPF, and then what we'll need to do is click on filter in line with the output column. Push the level back up again. It's got a standard low pass filter. We've also got slide control here. Exactly the same as the oscillator. And what I want to do is to actually modulate the cutoff. So we can modulate the cutoff with, in fact, any of the oscillators. I'm going to use oscillator 3 because this is set up nicely to be used as an LFO. So I'm going to come along here. This is oscillator 3, and I'm going to choose cutoff. And let's press play. Set the frequency to 0 and then make use of the fine control. The level is essentially our modulation amount. Or if we want, we can actually sync it in time with the track. So click on Hertz, puts it to sync, press play. So at the moment I'm modulating the cutoff control just as if I was moving it up and down, but we can actually use oscillator 3 for example to modulate, let's say, the pitch of oscillator 2. Let's put it there. Sometimes, depending on the waveform shape, you'll find you'll need to adjust the offset. In terms of this shape control here on oscillator 3, at 0 it's basically a triangle wave, minus 0.99 is like a sawtooth. I think that's absolutely spot on. If you go the other way, kind of saw up. There we go. As I said, modulation amount. So what we can do is beef it up a bit. Let's get oscillator A working as well. Gonna take off XY. Kind of playing around with it really. So give it a little bit more power with the ring modulator. There you go. I'm also modulating oscillator 1 with oscillator 3 as well. Just bring down the modulation amount. If you want it to kind of go off on one, just push that slide value up. Good, and when I press stop, you'll notice the synth doesn't stop either. So what I've also done is I've introduced, and that's actually like the original VCS3, unless you had the additional keyboard. It wasn't like a MIDI keyboard, but unless you had that, or you set up with the envelopes and the kind of trigger button, that you just get sound out constantly. Okay, so I've added here a MIDI button, so that means you can trigger the sound using a MIDI keyboard. So that enables you to play the synth if you want to do it that way. Otherwise, it's just a question of jamming around with the controls and resampling. And that's something we look at in the Ableton sound design course. If you want to store your presets, just hold down the Shift key and then click on one of these buttons, and then try some different settings. Hold down Shift key and just recall them by clicking on the button just once, and that will restore all the parameters as well.
At Point Blank Online, you've got two methods of interaction with your tutor. Firstly, you've got the weekly online masterclass, which is in real time. And then also we've got feedback on your assignments, and that's known as DVR. So the online masterclass is a 1-hour session you get with your tutor every week. You can ask questions about the lesson content and get instant feedback, and also demonstrations on the fly from their computer desktop with our streaming technology. DVR stands for Direct Video Response, and the concept is really simple. You upload your Ableton, Logic or Cubase project file to your tutor, he downloads it and then pushes record on the screen capturing software and evaluates your work, so basically giving you one-to-one feedback. You see all of the mouse movements and any parameter changes made by your tutor. It's kind of like sitting in the studio over their shoulder watching what they're doing whilst they work. We have found the DVR process has truly revolutionized the way that we teach online, and the results speak for themselves. Book your place on the course now by visiting pointblankonline.net.